Hello, my name is Mark. I'm a concept artist and illustrator working for the entertainment industry. And here I'm trying to show you how you can create tension between two characters uh, inside one single shot or one single artwork. It is especially useful if you're developing keyframes or layouts. Even for feature films or animated films, or if you have to work on storyboards, because there most of the times characters are in the main focus, and you can't really share much from the environment unless it is a special environment shot or scene shot. So I just logged in the main shapes first. And here just to separate the two characters and the main background, and to create like two main focal points with the two characters. The one is obviously the main focus or main character, who should be like a bandit dude in the very foreground, and the secondary focal point is the cop, the sheriff, who just caught him standing in the door behind him. So we have a really creative focal point, and so the key is to create tension here. And I already created tension with placing the character, both of the characters facing towards us. So the bandit is facing the other way. I mean, showing his back to the sheriff, but we can still feel there's a connection between the two characters. The other thing what creates tension is you have to create some sort of hierarchy between the two characters, and you can do that between like with placing their eye lines compared to each other. So you can see that the sheriff's eye line is slightly higher than the bandit's eye line. So this means that in the visual hierarchy, he is a bit further up. And the other thing is, there's also, I mean, both characters are looking towards each other. They're not, they, I mean, the bandit can see the sheriff, but he obviously knows he's there. So yeah, you can see I just marked here the eye lines and two focal points. Another thing is that all my composition lines are pointing towards the sheriff. So that's why. So even if the bandit is in the main focal point and in the foreground and has more details, still the sheriff stays in the main focal point, and not just because all the composition lines are pointing towards him, but also because I put the biggest value contrast to that part of the image. So I finished. I rarely start black and white. I start my images black and white, but I wanted to figure out the value structure first. In this case, so as a second step, I quickly created a couple of overlay and soft light layers and colored up the image just to have a warm, cool color contrast between the foreground, so the inside of the house, and the background, what gets the light mainly from the outside. Like the sheriff is surrounded by this really desaturated bluish light, and in the same time, the bandit is sitting in a more cozy, a more warm, more friendly surrounding what is the protecting environment of the house. So yeah, here I just started to separate it into different layers, because I wanted to have the bandit on a separate layer to be able to paint him separately. So I just cut him out, painted over that area, and And here I'm just picking the colors, uh, what I already laid down. I didn't want it to make this painting really colorful, so really just keep the two, uh, the warm cool contrast, and focus more on the overall composition, and strengthening that with pushing more, pushing the details and pushing the contrast of the focal point, and just hinting as much details in the background and in the unnecessary parts as it was absolutely necessary. So yeah, as you can see, I spent most of my time with detailing the bandit's face, and now I jump back, and because I wanted to keep everything like on quite the same level, but not as much, because I already knew I wanted to create like a fake cinematic effect with blurring the background slightly. So I just wanted to hint as many details as it needed to look sort of realistic, before blurring it out. Yeah, I did some slight perspective corrections. And then again, I went back, and I felt that the blue tone isn't really making the cut, so I added some extra blue and some extra oranges. And here I already added that blur, so we can still feel that there's the focal point, but because I wanted to create the feel that we are with the bandit in the house. And the other thing, what I wanted to show with this piece is that you can actually suggest a story. So you don't have to actually show the action. So sometimes it's way more powerful to show just what happens just before the action. So and because then the viewer's mind and still have some room to play with. Some extra final detailing. As you can see, I added also some cinematic effects, some embers flying around, some smoke, what is most probably coming from the open fire in the room. So like a big oven or something. And I went back and just to have some bounce lights on the face and some rim lights on his head, just to tighten it up a bit more, even if it's sort of a cartoony kind of piece, but still I wanted to add enough details to make the character more believable, and especially his expression more believable. So yeah, and these are pretty much the finishing touches. So doing some final light corrections, a bit of extra shadows, a bit of extra highlights, doing some color balance as a final step, some color corrections, some value corrections to make it look more cool, adding a bit more contrast to the focal points, to the faces, to pop up even more, and it's ready. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something.